Hello guys, welcome back to the beastie room. As you can see, we finally managed to get our blackout blind up on the wall. It's doing a reasonable job, but not as good as it was. It's a little bit short, but there you go. We're making improvements. All we've got to do now is get our lighting up. So we can only apologise for the lighting at the moment because we've actually managed to find our lights, which were in all our storage stuff, but now we can't find the controller. So yeah, once we find a controller, we'll have proper lights again. I have no idea where it is, but as you can appreciate, we have got boxes everywhere and we don't know where anything is. Right then, what we're going to do today, we are going to look at a spider that I think is absolutely super cool. This is one of my all-time favourite spiders, and it's something that we had when I was young, and they were always used to keep us on our toes. They are quite a formidable spider, really, and that is the king baboon. Now, they are absolutely awesome things. We got a big female in here, and we got a number of others as well, which are all a little bit smaller than this one. This is the largest one we have. So what we're going to do, we are going to set up this 30-30 by 30 Komodo. These are a fossorial spider, so they like a lot of soil, and out of all of the fossorial spiders, these are ones that really do spend the majority of their time underground. So you don't see a lot of them, if anything at all, to be fair. But when you do see them, they really blow you away. They are absolutely amazing things. So we've got a couple of bits of wood here that we can try out. And all we're looking for really is something that's really basic, something very simple. We are literally just going to fill this with dirt, and then we're going to put a piece of wood in, create a burrow underneath for a bit of a starter burrow for her to go down, because we're going to try and get her to go where we want her to go. And then that is pretty much it. There is no need going overboard with these guys because they will literally bulldoze the whole thing out. So we're going to fill this up. It is important with these spiders, some fossorial spiders, you can get away with not having much in the way of soil, but these guys really do benefit from it. They really do like to get down deep in the soil. You notice we're not putting any clay balls in this, so this isn't going to be one of our bioactive enclosures. This is literally going to be a tank of dirt, pretty much. So this is a fresh bag of potting compost that we've opened up for this, and as you can see, it's already quite damp. Now, the king baboon does like a bit of humidity, so we're looking at between anywhere around about sort of 60 to 70% humidity within the soil. So we're going to just keep adding soil now, plenty of it. We'll pretty much fill this up. If I was feeling a bit fitter today, I'd have picked the bag up and just tipped it in. But I'm not, I'm exhausted. So we're literally going to fill it up with a tub. Don't want to ask camera lady to do it, she might show us up. Alright. There we go. Right, and as you can see, we've got a good bit of soil in here. This is already nice and damp. We'll have a bit more yet, I think. Now the king baboon is an old world spider. As the name suggests, it's a baboon. These guys come from Africa, typically Kenya, where they live out in the scrublands. So you can imagine baking hot sun in the daytime, They're out in the grasses, so the grasses and everything else will afford them some shade. But they also use them around the entrances to their burrows. So if there's grasses and that there, they will web the entrance to the burrow, making like a tube. That's it, there we are. We've got plenty in here now. This is going to be enough for our spider. She's not going to be escaping the heat. As long as we can keep the bottom part reasonably damp, she will be happy. And what we're going to do, I think, we'll perhaps use this piece. And what I've got to do is bear in mind that, oh, that's better, look at that, that fits better. We are going to want to pair this spider very soon. So once she's actually worked out, and I'm going to compact that just a little bit, it will hold together where it's nice and moist. So we're just going to dig down a little bit there. She can make that as much as she wants. And then I think we'll put this bit here as well. Just to give her a choice. She might just decide to dig it out herself rather than use the one that we've just put in there. Now we need a water bowl. I'm just going to place this in the corner. Whenever we do these and we set up a new enclosure, the chances are this water bowl will end up being moved. It most certainly will need to be refreshed, because the chances are she's going to cover it in dirt and bury it. So that is it. Very, very simple enclosure. All we need to do is make sure that we've got a reasonable depth of soil for her to disappear and feel nice and secure. And it's also about more, with these guys, it's more about the environment that they're in. So giving them that deeper soil will actually maintain the humidity down there a lot easier. Now we haven't bothered putting clay balls in the bottom, because with a true fossorial spider like the king baboon, she will go down to the bottom and she will literally turf it all up, dig it all out. And we don't want that. We just want to, you know, it's just going to cause us problems, because she'll end up ripping up the cloth mesh that we put in above the clay balls, and that'll all get pulled up, and before you know it, it'll just be a mess down there. So we're going to go straight in with the soil. What that does mean is we need to be a little bit more on the ball with how we keep our moisture within the soil. And how we'll do that is we can look at this, and at the moment you'll see it's very, very dark. As this sits in the room, the heat in the room will actually dry this out. The moisture will come out and evaporate, and you will see this soil go lighter and lighter and lighter. Now what we want to do is we want to look at keeping the bottom half of this relatively dark, but not black. We just want to keep it almost like it is now. So the top half will go light where it's lost all its moisture, and the bottom half we want to maintain as a dark soil. That is telling us that there's enough moisture within the bottom layer. Now how we can achieve that is we can actually pour water down the corners in here. If she decides to dig her burrow here, we will pour water down the front here, and we will pour water down the back corner. That will then go down, the soil will absorb it, and it will drag it to where she is. We don't want to pour it straight down exactly where she is, because that will just be like flooding her. So we want to just put it in the opposite corners, but close enough where it will get absorbed by that drier soil around itself. And that will keep it going, that will keep it nice. So we're looking purely at controlling this by colour, nothing else, purely by colour. Right, so let's have a look at our spider. She's in this at the moment, which is just her temporary thing. And as you can see, this has been filled up 2/3 with soil. This is actually a cocoa fibre in here. Not my favourite stuff, but you can see what's happened. She's actually webbed this all over, and she's dug out this corner, but she's not made a burrow. She's literally just moved it all from here to here, and she's sat there. Now what we're hoping is that we want her to disappear completely, and that's hopefully what this piece of moss wood is going to create. It's going to cause like a roof that she hasn't got here, and then she will go down deep underneath it. Now if you can see her colours showing up really well there, we can try and put a bit of light on her and see if this makes a difference. Yeah, look at that. She is absolutely stunning. Now what we have got to do, isn't that just beautiful? Look at that big thick back leg on the left hand side of the screen there. That is just one big burrowing leg. That's like Popeye's arm, that is. And you can see there that she's actually got really big feet as well on them back legs. So that's almost like, it's almost like the rear end of her has been down the gym. You know, she's really, really strong in the back. And this is because they're a burrowing spider and they do dig. They love to dig. Now, hopefully the camera will pick up there that she is almost velvety. Very similar to a young sturmy when they get that almost beautiful velvety look over their legs. This is very much the same. It's interesting to see how many of the fossorial spiders always look like they're in pristine condition. Like chinchillas, yeah. Isn't she beautiful? Now, these guys are renowned for being quite a handful, and they are not a beginner spider. One, because they're pretty boring in terms of the fact that you hardly ever see them, but two, because they are more than happy to defend themselves. They're a very powerful spider. They've got a very strong venom, and they can be quick when they want to be. So they are not a spider to be messed around with. You don't want to be trying to pick this spider up. It will most certainly put you in hospital. Here she goes. Look, she's having a little move now. She's just probably realised that there's something going on. Here she comes. Now what we got to do now is we got to try and get her out of this and into a sensible spot where we can see her nicely. So what we're going to do, we're going to move the soil to the back so that we can get our catch cup in there. I will move this over to the light a little bit so you guys get to still see, hopefully. Can you still see that, or is it? We really are suffering here with the light, unfortunately. But it's coming together. We're getting there slowly, guys. And I can only thank you for your patience. We are doing our best, but life is up in the air at the moment. Right then, we are going to try and get her in this cricket box. And like I said, you need to be careful. One thing I will say, when you see, when you watch me handle these spiders, I do things the way I do things, and a lot of this is because I've been doing this a long time, so I'm very experienced with a lot of these real potent, fast, strong spiders. Don't do it necessarily exactly like I'm doing. You can use the things, but sometimes you'll see me put my hands down and things like this, and I'll move stuff around. And this is because I'm very aware of what this spider is doing. I'm very aware of it being able to read what this spider is thinking about doing next. And this is one of the keys to being experienced, is you learn to pick up on the tiny, tiny little signs that everyone else misses out on. So if you're a beginner, don't go pushing your hand in there, taking a chance, because you might not see the signs and you might end up getting bitten, and we don't want that. So always err on the side of caution. Be very, very careful with them. You often see me move things around, especially some of the pokies and things like that. And it does look very easy, but we know exactly what we're doing, and we can tell how our spider is feeling at that time. Yeah, you need to be really, really on the ball. And sometimes as well, when we're moving things, it's an interesting thing when we start moving stuff around. you often see me just using my hands, and I might pick out a piece of bark and there'll be a pokey on the bark or an OBT or something like that, and everyone's like, oh wow, you know, but you got to remember, all the time I'm talking to you, I'm watching that spider. I know exactly what that spider is up to at all times, and I am fully aware of my surroundings as well. And this is a very important part. You need to be completely in tune with everything around you to be able to get away with some of these things. If you're not, you get sidetracked or whatever, you can end up in trouble. So don't be tempted to do exactly, you know, the same things. You can use the same procedure, but just be a little bit cautious if you're new to this. Right, so what we're going to do, we are going to go down here because we can't get our box inside this little gap. We might be able to get it in through this way actually, but what we're going to do, we're just going to move this out of the way. So what we're doing now is we are letting her know that we're here. Now that might sound a little bit funny. She already knows we're here, but we're just reinforcing the fact that we are here. So we want her to stay nice and calm. So what we're going to do, we're just going to try and push this back a little bit. And as you can see there, it's slowly moving. Now this is where I can use my hand because I don't want this soil to fall down on her. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally just going to push it back like that. And I can push this back, you see? Because if the soil falls down on top of her, it's going to make her jump and she's going to run away. Now you see how now she's coming up? She already knows now that there's something going on. So what we're going to do, just to make life easier so you guys get to see, we're going to turn this around. I'm going to turn it that way. And what we're going to do now is we are going to try and get our box in here. We want to avoid there being any, see how she reacted to the box. Now many spiders would have ran the other way. A king baboon, she's not afraid of anything. So what we're doing now is we are just looking at sealing the box underneath. Now she's got her legs up, that's good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the lid of the cricket box. Remember, these are very powerful, strong spiders. So we're going to put this lid down the side, like so. We're going to close the top up. And we're just going to very, very gently touch her with the lid. See, we're going to ask her to move in. And we're just very, very gently touching her legs. Now we're going to lift the whole thing up. We've got 3/4 of our spider in the box. We're now going to lift it up. We're keeping this here just in case she bolts. We don't want her to jump out and hurt herself. So we're now going to lift her over and we're going to put her down. Notice we've not had any threat display. Not had any threat display from this spider yet. This is because we're being very, very gentle. Now what we're going to do, we're going to tilt the box back a little bit and we're going to come in on the front. You remember, you'll see, watch the paintbrush. We're maintaining contact. She doesn't see that as a threat then. Yeah. So we're literally very, very gently, nice and slowly. You notice we are moving the box away at the same time. She hasn't actually moved. The box is moving. We're just going to pick her up. There you go. Be careful of the web. There's a little bit of web coming out of her. And that was attached to the box. If you pull away too quickly, sometimes you can pull the web and that will make her bolt as well. Now look at that. We've taken a spider that is notoriously defensive. These guys really, really can be bad in terms of their attitude. You can see the thick back legs now. Massive, massive legs. Look at the foot there. Look at that foot. It is huge. It is absolutely huge. I'll turn this around a little bit. Try and get that around a little bit, just so you get a bit of light. There you go. Look at the size of that foot. It is absolutely monstrous compared to the other feet. double the size. And we've got a little bit of web here. What we can do, we're going to just tidy that up. See how it's coming out of the... See that? You see as we pulled that, that made her move. This is what we were saying about when it's attached to the box. You can startle them by pulling that web. She's been absolutely gorgeous at the moment. Very, very well behaved. Now, another interesting thing with the king baboon is that we call them the king baboon, but the females are often known as a queen baboon for obvious reasons. She's a girl. So the big females, they're known as queen baboons. Now, another interesting thing with these guys is they're not capable of they're not hair kickers. They don't use urticating hairs. Turn this around. Camera lady's being very demanding. Right. They can use urticating hairs. They don't use urticating hairs. What they can do is they can use stridulation, which basically what they do is the two front legs, the two pairs at the front, not the pedipalps, the two front legs, they actually raise them up when they're in a fret posture. Here she comes. You can, they raise them two front legs, and then what they do is it's almost like if you imagine the base parts of the legs almost like their elbows. They use those and they rub them together and it creates a hissing sound. And it is can be really quite loud. Frighteningly loud. And they do that to actually scare off any anything that's like predatory, anything that's upsetting them, including you as a keeper. And it is very loud. So that is their first form of defense. If you don't take heed of that and you still persist, then this is likely to be followed up with a bite. And like I said before, these guys are not afraid to stand their ground. As you saw when we took her out of her temporary enclosure, when we moved her from there, she actually faced the box. Now, she didn't look to attack it, but she was not afraid of it in the slightest. So she literally turned around to have a look at it and think, you know, what's this down here? What has just entered my home? And she was there. She didn't budge an inch. But as you've seen, if we're gentle and we don't spook her, we've managed to pull her out, put her in here, and she's been as sweet as anything. An absolute puppy. Now don't let that fool you though, because I say these guys have got an awesome reputation for being quite tricky spiders. So we have to be careful. Now what we got here now, we are very lucky because we've got this big female here. She's been placed in this enclosure, and then we are looking to breed her. So we are fortunate enough to have a mature male. Now we're going to have a little look at him. He's up here. He's literally just kept in this temporary braplast, and this is we actually keep many of our males in here, and they're just kept in a very simple way, as we've shown before. As long as they've got fresh water and the conditions are fine, they are as good as gold. Now the males can be very flighty, so what we're going to do, we are going to try and have a look at him, and we'll just see how we go. We might end up chasing him around the table, but they can be very quick. Now there we go. Now this is a full mature male, and as you can see, he's much smaller. But look at this. This is a very interesting point. Look at the back legs. This is his back legs. Note that the foot and the leg is exactly the same as the front. Our female, she has massive, great big back legs, big powerhouse legs, massive great foot. The foot is twice the size as the next leg.
That's very bushy.
No, she's very, very smooth. It's a good point. She's very smooth. He is very, very hairy. He's the same colour and everything. But look, this is the interesting part. This guy now is designed to wander. He is designed to go out and walk for miles looking for a female. He doesn't need them big burrowing legs. When he was younger, before he had this final molt into a mature male, he would have had thick legs as well. But now he's molted out, he don't need them big legs anymore. He don't need to burrow. He will not burrow ever again.
What's his abdomen like?
Tiny. Now what we're going to do, we are going to try and get him to open up. This might not go as well as it did with the female, because the males can be a little bit testy. And also as well, because he's always up on top nowadays, he's a little bit more cautious about what's going on. So we're going to very, very gently touch him with our brush. Now we've made contact, we're going to try and keep contact now. So what we're going to do, we're literally going to try and make him move sideways. So we're putting a tiny, tiny little bit of pressure on him. But we're maintaining contact. Look at that colour. The carapace on that is just beautiful. You notice how he's much finer built. Now you can see that tiny little abdomen now. See how he's different? He's got these tiny, tiny, tiny little abdomen compared to the female. Look at that. He's trying to hide it. He's a bit shy about showing his bum. Now then, if we come round the front, I'll move this a little bit. We'll see his pedipalps. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the other end of the brush. And this is a pedipalp down. Oh, there we go. Now can you see them big boxing gloves there? All males are very tentative about you touching their pedipalps. See them? There you go, look at that. Now, if he stays like he is, you'll get a good view down the side. Whoop. Come backwards, come back. This is not bothering him. Yeah, there you go. Great side. There you go. There's the pedipalp there on the end of the paintbrush. You see that big club on the end? This is the emboli there. And that's all the actual important bit is tucked up underneath on the underside of that pedipalp. And that's the piece that he uses to inseminate the female. We can't quite see it just yet. It's not until he actually goes through the process and then you'll see them stick it out and it's like a fine, fine wire. Look at the colouring on that. Absolutely gorgeous. And as camera lady said, much hairier than the females. What a good little fellow he has. Look at that. He's been really, really good. There she is.
Took the orange away out of it.
Is that it?
It was lovely, and now it's not. I'm going to go to the dirt.
You lost your focus.
Blown the orange out.
Oh. So there we go. So we are lucky enough. We've got our male. I'll just put the lid on him because I thought we'd finished looking at him, but obviously not.
I need to see his bum.
You want to see his bum? Very personal. There we go. You like? Another nice thing that we can see with these is the actual white bands on every joint. They really stand out. Such beautiful spiders. You're going to try and get her again now. Now you can see just by the way she's sitting, she is very, very relaxed. Very relaxed. This is how we want to see our spiders. Very pretty. I might try and get a quick photo of that myself. I say, it's not very often we actually get to see these guys. So whenever you do get a chance to get a photo, it's always worth doing. Right then, we're going to put the lid back on our male. You remember when we do this before, any spider, when it's in one of these boxes like this, don't go on the edge. Get your lid and go flat down. And then that way, if it does startle your spider, it can't get out. You've already gone flat. So that's all we do. Nice and gently. He's in his box. Right then. So that pretty much covers these. I think in terms of temperature, we're looking at them being around about 70, 75 up to 80, and they'll be really, really happy. They do, you know, as long as they've got that moisture in the soil, which we mentioned earlier on. So we want that around about 75% mark. That's going to be absolutely perfect for them. Food-wise, they do have a good appetite when they're young, but as they get older, they lay off a little bit. And you're looking with this female, we would probably feed a good sized roach every week to 10 days. And then you'll find she'll get to a point where she'll fill up and then she'll fast. So she'll basically stop eating. And this is something that many of our spiders do. They self-regulate. So we don't need to worry. You know, if you've got a spider that's been feeding every week, and then all of a sudden it's refusing food, you've gone 2-3 weeks, it's still refusing food, don't panic. As long as it's got a good abdomen on it, there's no need to panic. It is literally just filled to its max, and then it will just wait until it's digested all of that food. It will feed off of the reserves that it gives it, and then eventually it will either molt if it goes into pre-molt, or it will come out and feed again. So don't worry if they don't eat all the time. Right then, well, I hope you enjoyed them. Hopefully we're going to give her about a week or so, and then we're going to try our male, and all being well, we'll get that on film. I'm really hoping that we get to film that, because I think they will look beautiful in on film if we can catch that pairing. Unfortunately, the females are incredibly tough on the males, and they might only get the one chance, and these guys are quite hard to come by. I don't know why, but there's very few males in the hobby compared to females. So yeah, he's quite a valuable spider in that terms. So we're hoping he's going to do his bit, and bit of luck, we can manage to get him out in one piece. That is the aim. Well then, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.